Welcome back, everyone. This is Matt Johnson and another episode of the Team Building Podcast, and we've got a phenomenal guest with us today. We've got a lot to dive into. We've got the man, the myth, the legend, Jeff Cohn is here with us. Jeff, first of all, what is up, man? How are you?
Hey, Matt Johnson. Hey, man, I'm super good. Went for a jog this morning. The city had left a huge tractor tire on the side of a main road, so I thought it'd be fun to jog 1 mile, get to the tractor tire, and roll it back to my house. So when I got there, it's like 8 degrees outside also. The tractor tires were all full of dirt. So I don't think that these were like left there with any purpose of leaving at any point soon. It was like cement. I thought, well, I can push it with dirt in it. Yeah, it did not budge. So I feel about this big right now and just ended up doing a run instead. And for anyone that hasn't ran in the cold, I think I'm still thawing out.
Yeah, I was going to say, the inside of your lungs might be half frozen. And Omaha is not exactly a big CrossFitter locale, so the idea that somebody left a tractor tire on the side that's empty that they've been flipping in their spare time, it doesn't
and I
track.
knew that wasn't it. I just figured the city was like, leave the tractor tires, we'll get them later. Yeah. And I was like, and they will end up in my CrossFit gym at my house. So now I need to go find some tires.
All right. Well, with that said, there's no possible smooth segue for this. So I'm just going to go right to our guest, and you can stop talking. All right. Mary Maloney. Mary, how are you today?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing awesome. So we're really excited to have you.
Tractor tires along the road here. Like I was back in Arkansas for sure. And it's
going to say, if you see a tractor tire on the side of the road here. Yeah.
Freezing 51, huh?
Yeah, exactly.
Horrible.
All right. So, Mary, give us, for those that don't know you, give them a little bit of an insight, just kind of who you are, where you are, and what your team looks like.
So we are in sunny North County, San Diego, and we are a boutique brokerage. We have been an indie brokerage for the past 10 years. I like to say we were indie when indie was cool. And we recently opened a second office and a second brand dedicated to serving the military here in the Diego marketplace. And so we are known as Hometown Realty in our local geographical market. And then we also have Hometown Veterans that launched last year. We are a team of 6 to 8 normally on average with admin staff. And we have shifted along the way from in-house everything to outsourcing our admin and some of our other things. We are reaching a milestone this year. We will hit our 1,000th transaction and over $500 million in production for our team. So we're really excited about 2018, the market, what's happening, and what's happening in our industry. So it's a very exciting year for us here.
Another really great thing about Mary, and that's a very impressive resume, Mary, is that she is actually part of the Woman Up movement. I believe, if I say this correctly, California's real estate, was it the Real Estate Commission or the Board of Realtors?
The California Association of Realtors, yes.
Yep, thank you. So you could speak to that, but one of the things that her and I talked about before the episode was just some of the challenges in today's world still in 2018 where there's some, tendency for men to continue to dominate in certain roles. The average male earns more commission than the average female. Mary was sharing with me off air about some of these statistics. And then also the average male earns more in executive type positions within real estate. And so I was really impressed that she's kind of been working on the Realtor Woman's movement. And with that, we invited Mary to come and speak at an event we have yet to announce to the public. We've kind of teased the event, but we thought it'd be a great way to unveil with Mary here on the podcast today, our team building summit that we are going to be hosting in Omaha, Nebraska. It will be sunny Omaha, Nebraska in May, so don't be scared. Save the dates. It's May 8th. The evening of May 8th is a reception party and pre-registration, and then the event's going to run all May 9th and all May 10th. Ticket pricing is going to be $297 for a normal ticket. That gets you into the entire event, breakfast and lunch each day, all sorts of surprises. And then there's going to be VIP tickets sold for $497. Those are limited, and that's going to get you into a VIP party at my house the second night. That's going to get you front row seating and a special breakout Q&A session with all of our VIP team leader agents. And we have 6 coming. Mary is the first that we wanted to bring on our show today. We're going to interview the other 5 over the next couple of weeks. But I will mention their names, and they are committed. It's Greg Harrelson, Greg McDaniels, along with Matt Johnson, Daniel Beer, Chantel Ray is going to be speaking. And then there's one more not confirmed, one additional female that I'm waiting to hear back from. So we have 6 top team agents from across the country. So let's dive into the topic today. This is going to be a really good one. We were talking off air a little bit about how to bring the most value to our audience based on what Mary has accomplished in her obviously huge real estate career. And one of the things is going to be the pain points that Mary and a lot of us experience as we build out our team because we're not really ready for growth. And then the other point that we want to talk about is more on this indie brokerage, which I believe stands for independent. You can correct me if I'm wrong. I used to think it was like some type of a race thing. Like, I'm like, indie brokerage, like they're into race cars? Like, what is that? So for anyone that wasn't sure what indie brokerage stands for, it's independent brokerage brand, boutique brokerages, mom and pop brokerage, I've heard people call them, but they're not part of a franchise organization. And so we're going to talk about the strategy behind partnering with a franchise versus starting an indie brokerage versus just keeping your team under an indie brokerage and or a franchise broker model. So there's lots of options. We're going to talk about which ones are best for you, and it's going to really be most dependent upon what each of our goals are as we move forward into the next 5, 10, 15 years. So without further ado, I think, Mary, we should start off by talking about some of these pain points. A lot of our guests don't want to talk about the bad things and the challenges that they've gone through. Everyone just wants to brag about the $500 million that they've done in their career, which is very, very impressive. So let's start with some of those pain points. What was the first real big pain point you feel like your team experienced as you guys continued to be successful?
So I don't think anyone really gets into real estate, or like I say, real estate gets into them, and then they decide, I want to own a brokerage, or I want to be a team leader. I don't think anyone really starts out that way. I know I certainly didn't start out that way. And so you kind of fail forward going through and learning and really needing mentors and coaches along the way. And I was in the same boat. I was an independent agent. I was then approached by the developer of the community in which I was working, the geographical farm in which I was working, to open a independent office for them. And they said, we like what you're doing in marketing, which is my background in education. We'd like to talk to you. And we opened a independent brokerage, which was in a subsidiary. They were a publicly held company. And in 2008, of course, the beginning of the recession, they were already hearing squawk on the streets out of New York about AIG and Lehman Brothers and toxic countrywide debt. And so I was having breakfast with the president of the development company, and he said, the board of directors for the company is not happy about the profit potential for the realty arm as we are hearing all of this squawk on the street. And I said, so sell it to me. And he said, I just told you it's not going to make money. And I said, so I should get it really cheap then.
Right.
And so that set about just a door opening. And I think a lot of people see opportunity as risk, and we all have a different threshold for that. And so I just stuck my foot in that door and called up my friend who had introduced me to real estate, and he had a broker's license. And I said, look, I just made an offer to do this. Do you want to come and do it with me? And so I think that happens for a lot of people. They see opportunity, or their business starts to grow, and then they start to bring on buyers, agents, or assistants. And before you know it, they're a team, and they move through these various stages of their career from being an agent to a team leader. And then the business grows and they start looking at the economics, and then the decisions come, could I have, a better opportunity at a different brokerage, or would becoming an independent make more sense for me? And I don't think any of us set out, to do it, and nothing prepares you like to run a business like running a business, right? And so there are a lot of pain points, and there are a lot of hurdles and mistakes that we all make along the way. And a lot of us that had gone out on the independent dive board, if you will, several years ago, we all started to seek each other out because there really wasn't a conference for us. There really wasn't a coaching company that focus specifically on team. And so all of us little independents started seeking each other out at Inman conferences and having our own little, lobby con, if you will, of just little independents and teams trying to help each other, ask questions, learn things. And
so, Mary, I'm going to stop you real quick. You pretty much have the entire audience's attention because everybody is identifying with exactly the place you have built everyone up to, and you're a great storyteller. I love all the details you've kind of helped us set the stage with my question. Everybody kind of happens into the team leader role, and I agree with you. Most people don't get into real estate and say, I want to be a team leader. And for those that do, I watch them come and leave within 12 months because it's really hard to be a team leader. A few things that stuck out to me. Number one, you were in the marketing world before getting into the real estate world. And that gave you a competitive advantage when trying to service not only the clients, but also the agents that chose to join your organization. You had value to offer to them. But the great point you made was that it wasn't an intentional build. It all just kind of started happening organically. And with that, all of the building pieces probably weren't in place. And so using the metaphor of building and construction, without a foundation, in some areas your walls fell down. What were some of the walls that fell down because you weren't ready?
So being focused on the marketing side and, launching as a boutique brokerage, which was the buzzwords 10 years ago, right? To be boutique and to be able to offer the consumer and the agent a different experience that was more elevated, was what we were putting all of our benefit and value on. And so as we started to scale and as we started to bring on agents and as our business started to take off, some of the things were, we lost sight of needing to constantly develop a good bench. And coming from the South, I'm a very loyal person. Having been in the military, I'm an extremely loyal person. And I think, there was a lot during that time focused on culture, building your core values, developing a culture. And we made the mistake of thinking that people would never want to leave us. We made the mistake of thinking our culture is so good, our brand is so good. Why would any agent ever leave? And, at some point we lost sight of continuing to change our model and continuing to, while we were hearing, I think, our agents, I think we became a little bit blinded to needing to also change with our agents as they continue to grow in their business. And unfortunately, my partner and I started to have different ideals, if you will, which is also, do you go it solo or do you have a partner when you do step out to be an independent or a team? And, being on the same page is, really important because we had a great 8-year run. But as we started to scale and as we started to change, we found that we had started to have different ideals about how to take our business to the next level. How do you go to the next level? Always seeking to grow.
Do you want to go to the next level? I watch a lot of partners. One partner is good making $200,000 a year. The other partner doesn't care about the money. They just want huge growth and they're having fun with it. Or one of the partners wants to make $1 million a net a year and not have to work in the business. And then one person wants to be a team leader or the CEO or the business manager. The other one wants to go flip houses and is done running the real estate team. So it can create all sorts of challenges. So let's back it up a minute. You've talked about your bench, and I think this is probably the one point I've noticed is the biggest struggle for team leaders. And we have obviously our Elite Real Estate Systems coaching organization. We have 70 top team leaders from across the country that are plugged into our system. So there is now an answer for the indie broker and the top team leader from a coaching standpoint. They can plug into our team's flagship coaching. One of the challenges is that a lot of top team leaders and a lot of people will identify with me are constantly asking, should I bring on 5 more agents if the foundation's not there? It's like the reverse challenge of, man, I don't know if I want to add agents. I'm not really sure we can take on more people, and I don't know how it's going to affect my culture and affect our business and affect our workflow. And I always come back to the 3 pillars, and I'll try to bring it up every podcast we ever host, Matt. And those 3 pillars of any successful business, not just in real estate, number 1 is recruiting. And for recruiting, if you're not in residential real estate, it's simply recruiting talent to your organization. Number two is retaining that talent by continually offering more and more value. You continually build it. And I love what Mary said, where she thought, how could anyone leave us? I stay up at night. Every time an agent leaves, it hurts, right? It doesn't matter what they produce, it hurts because they're saying, I don't want to be with you. It's like someone breaking up. It's not me, or it's not you, it's me, and you hear that all the time when the agent leaves. It's, the team's great, it's just not a good fit for me. And it's like, how can it be a good fit? We are awesome. The office is awesome. I'm awesome. We give you leads. We do all this stuff for you. But at the end of the day, they leave because they don't believe there's a value for them. And then the third foundational piece to this, the third pillar, is continual training. Training your staff, training your agents, training your direct reports, continually helping others level up. And that's obviously a value add piece. And so what you're talking about filling the bench, that's the recruiting element. And we have to always know people will leave. That's part of the equation. It's just like if you list 10 houses, one of them's going to cancel. If you go on 5 listing presentations, maybe 3 of them don't list with you. It's just part of the equation. Your agents will leave. Everyone listening today, your agents are going to leave. Some of them are going to leave, and just be prepared for that. And you prepare by simply adding more and more agents to that bench. So I'm glad you brought it up, and I know that's a pain point a lot of people experience. So diving a little bit into more of what you talked about, where you knew that you needed to adapt, I think our audience would like to probably have us go deeper into that. I know we had talked off the air about our commission splits and the interview I'd had with Kyle Whistle and being transparent about that. I saw a need when we first launched my team. The agents would take all of my buyer leads, but I got all their listing leads. And I quickly saw a need to shift on that because I knew listings was where it was at. I think a true leader always gives their followers the ability to be just like them and work the business just like them. So I thought they should be able to work both sides. And then we also had a thing where until they did $4 million in production, they only made a 60-40 split on listings, but they could make up to a 75-25 on buy sides. And I kept changing my splits. I started low for anyone listening. Start low and then give a little and give a little and give a little until you figure out where that profit margin needs to be. And it's dependent upon your average sales price, your average commission that you retain. So where were some of those little pain points you guys experienced where you saw that there needed to be a shift, and maybe had you shifted a little bit sooner, you would have retained a little bit more of your talent?
Yeah, I think, at the time we were running splits based on gross volume. And, I have to own my part in, I was so busy marketing, advertising, building brand, being the evangelist, if you will, for our company, right, that I kind of had my head in the sand when it came to finances and P&Ls and books. And, I'm an artist. I'm not the operator of the organization.
Was your partner an operator?
I'm sorry?
Sorry to cut you off. Was your partner in the weeds, in the books?
Right.
Were they the implementer and you're the visionary?
Taxes and working with the bookkeeper and
awesome.
Gross.
That's great.
Right?
That's
all
great.
all the best parts, just the best parts. Yeah,
right. All the fun stuff.
Yeah.
And most real estate agents aren't operators. We are artists. We're high D's, high I's. We love people.
Yep.
We want to be out there in the trenches. And I still produce to this day because I just love real estate. And it also, as a team leader, keeps me relevant. Also, as an owner, it keeps me relevant to what struggles my agents are going through. But, at the time, we were running splits based on gross volume. And we weren't paying attention that as we scaled up, and we had run a very geographically driven business, high direct mail, high community exposure, lots of past client sphere, 13% of our business walks through our front door because of our geographic location and our farm.
Goodness.
We were running a very tight ship, and then what we didn't keep up with was, as our business scaled up, our expenses were scaling faster than our revenue, and we weren't paying attention to the commission model. And we were, I was doing business to keep the doors open, and it's like, this doesn't make sense. And by the time we started to pick the P&L apart, figure out where we were sinking money and where the black holes were, we hadn't kept up with the shift in the commission model that our agents were seeking. And, at some point as well, when you have agents that are growing a past client and sphere type of business, and they move from needing your leads to now self-generating the business, and scale back the expenses for that particular agent and allow them to go on a different split, then they go seeking opportunity elsewhere.
Mary, I'm going to jump in quick. I had just recently experienced this where for about 5 years, my team operated where about a third of our deals were coming from internet leads we generated, and we kept 50-50. And the agents, 2/3 would come from their sphere or their outbound prospecting, in which they would keep, on average, an 80-20 split. Well, net on my P&L, if I made $1 million, 60% of our gross commission was going to agent commission, 10% was going to overhead expenses, and 30% I was retaining as net profit. Well, last year, only 25% of our deals came from internet leads. So we were down about 5% on that 50-50 split. And it ended up on our GCI, we did 3.1 million gross commission income, but 70%, I don't even know if Matt Johnson knows this, but I ended up paying out 70% in gross commission income, 10% in overhead, and I only kept 20% GCI. Net income, 20% net income. I still made $600,000+ net and worked 5 hours and made money off all sorts of other streams of income attached to the real estate sale. But I took a loss, and I was watching, and I knew that was going to happen. I was prepared for that. And this is a really important point I wanted to make, and I'm glad this came up because we haven't said this yet. As you grow bigger, it's okay to make less as a percentage. I'm okay getting to the point I talked to Mary off air. We want to do 1,000 sales this year, 1,000 units. I'm okay if I make a little bit extra, but not. I don't need to hit that 30% margin. 25% is really good. So for anyone listening, the goal I think should be around 25 to 30% net profit off of the gross commission. You have to eliminate, if you're a team leader selling, and I still go on listing presentations myself. I don't service anyone, but I'll go on a list pres. You have to eliminate your income. And Mary made the point, she had to sell to keep the team afloat. That's not a business, that's a job. And I'm not trying to beat you up, Mary. You know that just yourself.
No,
if your team can't,
mistake.
And that's okay. A lot of us go through that, and you have to kind of retool it. And the challenge was probably just not having enough agents on the bench to be selling to offset all of your sales. But when you guys analyze your P&L, you have to treat yourself as one of the agents on the team. That's separate from the real estate business that you own. And after you take that out, you need to make 30% net off of the gross commission income that you drive to the team. I like seeing a business that pays out 60 to 70% in agent commissions. The MREA, Millionaire Real Estate Agent Bible from Keller Williams, will say that you should only pay out 40% in commissions. I think that's horrible. I don't think that that's fair to the agent. I don't think you can create enough value to make up the difference of 30% that agent might be able to get if they went somewhere else. And then you should always expect to have about 20 to 25% in overhead costs. We only incur 10% to date, and that's how it's been the last 6 years because we've offset using transaction fees. We made $400,000 last year in transaction fees, $599 on the buy, $999 on the sell. And then we also make about $14,000 a month in marketing service agreements, which pays for all of our outbound marketing, like Google Ads, Facebook Ads, Craigslist, and our Boomtown CRM. So sorry to interrupt. This was an awesome topic that I haven't gotten to dive into that I thought would be helpful, and I could drop a couple value bombs for our audience. So let's shift gears and talk a little bit more about the decision to run an indie brokerage or a boutique brokerage versus just keeping that boutique brand within a franchise so you have the value that the franchise offers, or within another indie brokerage so you don't have to take on all the responsibilities that a broker has to take on. And that might be a limiting belief. So let's break that idea down for those listening that are still within a team at an indie brokerage or on a team within a franchise. What are some of the advantages of going off on your own?
So I think a few years ago, it became very sexy to have an indie brokerage, right? And there were all of these articles and Real Trends was talking about how the bigger companies were going to come in and buy smaller indie brokerages. And we all had these visions of our little independent brokerages being worth millions of dollars, and that was going to be our exit strategy. And, at the end of the day, it's just not reality. Because if you're not going to scale, at least in our market in Southern California, if you're not going to scale to at least 100 agents with regional offices, and really move from, being in real estate to the business of real estate, the idea that some bigger fish is going to come in and offer you, a big chunk of money and big bait, is just not reality. And so, times have changed, and the consumer has changed, the agent has changed, our industry is changing. And I know a lot of people that that came onto, let's say, the indie side, the dark side, are now saying, if I'd have just stayed a team, I could be far more profitable and really do the things that I love about this business. Because when you decide to step out into an indie brokerage, you take on a whole nother layer of exposure, liability, responsibility, resources, administration, everything that if you don't have a desire to do that, staying as a team under the umbrella of another brokerage that allows you to focus on what you do best and your strengths could possibly be a better solution. And we all know that, teams have come on in a big way over the past few years. I think there are 17,000 teams across the country now. And for many, it's a more financially viable solution. It's a better stress solution for them versus staying up at night, worrying if you're going to pay the rent or not.
So let me dive in, and I think you made some awesome points, and Johnson, you can jump in on this too. I ran a income calculator. I always spreadsheet everything out, and shockingly, I'm a high DI, but I have some SC skills that I honed in on in college. I primarily my statistics class, I was like the biggest nerd and absolutely loved it because it was the first time where math came alive for me and showed me how I could net more money in less time with less energy. And I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, when we have to, we can pull those SC skills, but for very short bursts of time.
That's right. I'll go for an hour at 1 a.m, and then I can't look at it for a month. So I have a calculator, just so everyone knows this. I've chosen to keep the team model within Berkshire Hathaway. I am paying tons of money to the Berkshire Hathaway franchise, and if I was at Remax or Keller or anywhere else, I'd be paying a lot to them as well. A lot of you listening are sharing my pain points. But I've ran the calculator to see what would the cost be associated with going off on my own and starting an indie brokerage or doing like the EXP model. And what I found is that I would make more money. I wouldn't make all of it back. People are like, I gave my brokerage $200,000. I would have kept all of that. You wouldn't have kept all of that. You would have had to have a front desk person. You would have been sorting mail for people. You would have been sued a couple times and had to protect yourself on the lawsuits. You would have been babysitting in ways that you're not babysitting today with brokerage-related issues. But I can get past that. To your point, Mary, if you have the skill set, and most of us do, we can start a brokerage. We can run an indie brokerage. But do you want to? Where's the profit going to be? Is the profit in owning that big brokerage box and that model, especially within the franchise where you have to follow their rules, or is the profit in the team? And I think it comes down to what I had said we would challenge our audience with the mindset of what's your future goal? My future goal was never to sell the team. People get into this whole, well, you got to build it and sell it. I'm like, we're not a tech company. We're not a piece of stock. Like, I don't even know what the agents are talking about when they say sell it. I made $1 million net last year, and I didn't sell real estate, and I worked 5 hours. How much would someone have to give me to sell that asset? Like, they needed to pay me like $7 million for me. Yeah. And I've thought about it. I'm like, how much would that be? I'm like, 7 million's my number. So if someone wants to buy my team, call me up. I'm for sale now. So I'm like, there's just no one's gonna pay $7 million.
Check in May.
Perfect. Awesome. That's a verbal commitment. Everyone heard it. This is live and recorded. So, I thought a lot about this. I'm like, what's the point? And the point for me is passion. I love it. I want to influence as many people. That's why we started the coaching company. That's why we have the podcast. I can influence my agents, and I've watched so many of them become better. Obviously, the revenue has to be there to compensate me for the time that I spend on the team and in the team. But all of us have a different reason. And if your reason is to sell, you probably want to be a part of a brokerage where there's a lot of other people that buy those brokerages. So I know like KW, there's a lot of operating partners that will buy other brokerages as long as they're doing well and there's the ability to see growth. But don't get too caught up in having to own a brokerage now if you want to sell later. One of the points I've made to a lot of people in these discussions is at any point you can go and become a brokerage. So you could build your team and build your team and build your team, and 10 years from now, you could align with whoever the hot brokerage is at the time. EXP is getting a lot of traction right now. Buy into that brokerage, run it for 12 months, and sell. And most of these sales aren't a check for $7 million. It's a check for 25% of the $7 million up front, and you still have to run the team the next 3 years, and the team has to still perform the next 3 years, even after you've sold it. So I think if there's a myth, yes, you've heard of the white unicorn. There are some. But for the most part, people aren't selling these teams and making millions. And I don't even understand why people want to sell the team, because if you run it the right way and build the right type of business, it should generate a positive revenue that you can then choose to deploy in other things. And so my big why was I want to exit, want to run a CEO team. I want to start other businesses. And as most of our audience knows, I own title, insurance, a flipping business, a coaching company, a call center, commercial real estate, multifamily, single family. And I have all these other things going. And I'm living and pursuing my dreams because I have the direct reports in place. I have a team that's generating positive cash flow. And I'm able to go and be a thought leader and a visionary. And I'm doing all the things I've always wanted to do. The biggest challenge I see, and you can challenge this, is agents aren't willing to stop in the production role. They're not ready to stop trading time for money. Even top team leaders listening to this podcast who have very large successful teams are still spending 20 or 30 hours a week servicing clients. Well,
Right.
all of that time spent servicing clients is keeping you from being able to do a title company or start a side business that you always dreamed of, or keeping you from, maybe going out and recruiting more aggressively or training more aggressively to retain your talent. So I would like to challenge a lot of the people listening, if they are still going and servicing, opening doors on showings, negotiating contracts on listings, find someone really talented on your team and give them that business. Let them keep 25% of the commission and quit doing those activities because they're keeping you from reaching your full potential.
Yeah. And
What
I
are your
think people
thoughts?
really need to decide, what is it that they love about this business? And there are so many ways, but at the end of the day, I think people really have to also look at their lives. You and I were talking about this before we went on air. I have grown children, and
Yeah.
I'm turning 50 this year. So I'm at
Wow,
a very
you look great.
different. Oh, you're so kind. Please stop.
Right. I mean, I would have guessed 39. I'm actually shocked you're almost 50. I actually was shocked when you told me off air that she had your 23-year-old, a 23-year-old youngest.
She's 22, yeah, senior
And
in
she's your
college.
youngest. I was
Our
like, holy
youngest,
cow,
Good
yeah.
Lord.
impressive. Yeah.
So,
By the way, Mary also gets up at 5 a.m. every day, which I thought was insane. As a real estate agent who owns her own business, who could sleep in, the kids are out of the house, I'm assuming, and
Yes.
she's getting up early, and her husband's getting up too. I think that you guys are great examples of, early to bed, early to rise makes a person healthy, wealthy, and wise, and you certainly are.
it's
So,
statistically
good job.
proven you will live longer.
I agree.
But I think people have to also look at their lives, and if you have young children, or what stage of your life are you in, so that one part of your life doesn't take over the rest of it. And
Right.
As a woman business owner, the guilt comes in, and I often ask my 22-year-old, did I spend enough time with you when you were growing up? And she's always like, Mom, stop it already, But I'll tell you, she's a damn good negotiator at this point in her life from all those phone calls in the car. But
I bet. Mary,
people-
I think all of us share in that same fear.
Yeah.
I've thought
Yeah.
often about, I'm like, did I change a diaper? I don't remember holding the baby at 3 a.m. I think my wife got up, and honestly, I never got up in the middle of the night. And
Yeah.
I don't think I changed
Yeah.
very many diapers. And I have some of these regrets. And for those listening, if you still have your kids at that young age or whatever age, stop having regrets. Just time block to spend time with people that matter to you, or to go and work on the hobby you have always wanted to work on, or to go work
Right.
out every day for 60 minutes. Just do it. Nike,
and-
just do it.
And keeping an open mind, like you said, you own, a flipping business, you do all these other things. We've started buying and preparing for retirement and buying investment properties. And, it's one of the things I love about this business is I really take pride in our team and our agents. And, at the end of the day, it is a reflection on us that we groomed these agents that went out on their own and now run successful teams themselves. Yes, we did that.
Right.
And I'm proud of that. I'm not happy that they left, but I'm proud of what they're doing in our industry and our business, and they're serving clients. And I want to continue to help at this stage in my life, the agents that are on our team now, helping them to really build a life and have success, whatever that definition of success is. This business will allow you to do that. We have, team members that have just had beautiful little babies and buying first homes. And then we have, folks that, are on the down leg, and their kids are seniors in high school, and now they're ready to enter a new phase of their life. And they've been able to pay for college in cash. From real estate, and their kids are able to graduate college with no college debt. So, investing in our team, you have to be ready for that if you want to run a team, whether that's a team brokerage, an independent brokerage. There are all different kinds of models, but investing in people has to be one of your number one priorities if you're going to do this.
Yeah,
love it.
100%.
That's great advice from a wise and a very experienced young real estate agent. Thank you, Mary Maloney. You guys, we're at time. I want to just remind everyone, we will be sending out invites. We will have an Eventbrite and Wix page set up on, I believe, the 26th of February. And so when this launches here in about a week or so, Matt, I'll get you the links for signing up for the May event. Mary will be speaking at that event, and she'll also be at a few VIP breakouts, so you get to meet her in person. Like I had mentioned, there's going to be 5 other top team leaders from across the country that will be in attendance as well. So this is going to be the first ever team building summit in Omaha, Nebraska, May 8th, 9th, and 10th. We're going to start selling tickets. There is a limited space for both the regular tickets and the VIP tickets. There will be more information on that here in the coming weeks. Also, we continue to offer our team building workshop in Omaha. For anyone that's already an Elite Real Estate Systems member on the team leader track at $497 a month, they can come out to the workshop for just $997. So if you sign up for that and then want to come out to the workshop, it's only $997. Otherwise, it's $29.97 to come out to the team building workshop. The next event is on March 26th. And it's an all-day event in Omaha. You fly in Sunday night, you hang out with us all day. I'll be there all day. And we run through all sorts of stuff. People, when they leave, always say it's more information they ever dreamed of that you can then implement in your business. And most people that come out, they see 100% return within 12 months. They double their team size, and that's our promise is you come out to the workshop and implement the things that we teach. Your team will double within 12 months if you implement the changes. So a lot of it comes back to the recruiting, retaining, and then continual training to help people be better, just like Mary was talking about. Pour your heart and soul into your people. They'll stay with you. They'll become better. They'll reach their dreams, and that will help you reach yours.
That's right.
Matt
And Mary, share with people how they can connect with you and learn more about what you're doing.
Absolutely. I would love to connect with anyone, all of my power women out there. Be sure to reach out to me. I look forward to seeing you in Omaha. But you can reach us at hometownnorthcounty.com. or our military brand at militaryhometown.com. You can find us on Facebook. You can find me personally at Mary Maloney, Facebook and Instagram. And I just look forward to connecting with everyone. Thank you so much.
Awesome. You were great, Mary. Thank you.
That's right. And guys, for the podcast itself, make sure to subscribe, whether it's YouTube for the video versions or you want to go over to iTunes or Stitcher or grab your Apple Podcast app. Either way, just subscribe to the show. Remember to leave a 5-star rating and review on iTunes, which helps the show get found by people that are searching for this type of information. And make sure to recommend the show to the other fellow team builders and indie brokers that you know in your world that are looking for this type of information, because I don't know of any other podcast that goes this deep on these types of conversations that, like Mary was saying, typically, are taking place essentially in the hallways of other conferences. So nobody really talks about this stuff on a podcast. So this is really the only one out there that does this, guys. So make sure to tell people about the show. And with that said, guys, Jeff and Mary, thank you so much. This was awesome. And everybody that's watching and listening, we will see you on the next one.